Find a way.
Daniel Shew, glad you're here. This podcast was designed for leaders, entrepreneurs, and interesting people in Bristol. And you check all three, all three of those boxes. So I'm excited about what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
And we've known each other as acquaintances for quite a while. And it's always interesting to me when somebody finds a career that's authentic to who they are, who they really are. And I think that describes you and your interest and your work with historic homes and bringing these historic homes back to life. So I'm fascinated about how you do that, but also more about you. So was there a time you remember where you realized that you were really fascinated with old historic structures?
Well, I grew up pretty poor. Most people in Bristol know that because I've shouted it from the rooftops. Hey, I went from an outhouse to 3 bathrooms. And so my parents liked antiques. They built their house and they slowly got financially better and they enjoyed antiques. And there were 2 big events that happened. I was like, oh, antiques, fine, that's great. When I was 14, it was right after Columbine. So Mom decided to put me into a correspondence course from California, and she would administer the books. So I went to a private Christian academy there. And she got a job at an antique shop. So I went with her and was like, oh, I kind of get why having something that belonged to someone else is interesting. And I got really into Civil War history, and then a tour of the Martha Washington about that same time. When I saw those things in this building, I was like, okay, I'm never going to have any money now.
So are you just always been into history?
Not early on, but after that point, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I taught history at the university for 12 years.
I don't think I did know that.
Yeah. I taught Western Civ course. I've always loved European history and the big picture more than like details of any one particular era. So I really enjoyed that. But I didn't like history when I was younger because it was all about like dates and memorization.
Yeah.
And my mind doesn't work that way. Like I can't remember. I just can't remember dates and names. So history never did. It's when I got into college and I was introduced to the story. History presented as a story, and I got hooked, and ever since I've been enjoyed.
I can see that even now, like studying architectural history in my career, having to know the styles of houses and stuff. It's still like you got to memorize those dates and the people that started the movements, and it's still it's a lot to deal with. But the story helps.
Yeah.
You're right about that.
Yeah. And even in real estate, one of the things I enjoy the most in real estate is trying to piece together the story of a house.
Yeah.
So we buy a house. It's a big project, but it's like, what happened here? Like, how did it get to this? How did it get to this point? You get these little clues when you acquire a new property, but nothing like the history of historic properties like you're doing.
Yeah, I tell people in my career, I specialize in selling old houses.
Yeah.
Because not every old house is historic. Something has to have kind of happened there. And I think those terms overlap a lot in our world right now. But yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. So, man, real estate, I tell people, like, there's opportunity in so many different places in real estate, but you've got to be good at one thing. Like, I think there's a lot of generalists, but I think people that are the most successful are really, really good at one narrow piece of real estate. And they become the best in their market at that one thing. Our thing is very different than what you've chosen. Like, you've chosen one of the most difficult slices of the pie. And some of the projects you're doing, I've seen those houses abandoned for decades now.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'd never touch that monster.
I've been told that before. I looked at it, but I'd never buy it.
I was like, man, the numbers just don't add up on that. So I want to hear more about what you see in those houses that the rest of us don't see.
That's a great question. Well, again, with those stories, as a teenager, I saw the history books around Saltville and Glade Spring where I grew up. Saltville, there were all these old buildings, and then in the 1960s, they were gone. And all the stories from those houses, the architectural details, the craftsmanship, everything else is gone. And then at that same time, I saw houses in Glade Spring that had been there since the 1800s, leveled for parking lots. Too far gone. It's got to be torn down. And that always bothered me. There are quite a few, there's a historical standpoint, there's respect for, who came before you. That was something they put together. And then there's actual value. Why? A lot of these buildings were built with old growth and higher quality materials than we can get today. And when it's gone, you have to cut another tree down and replace it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just sustainable in all ways to try to save these buildings as much as possible. Sometimes we've made a lot of money on a building. Sometimes we've not done well, but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah.
The one we live in, we'll go out of there in coffins. So whatever we put into it is that much we put in.
Yeah, it's different when it's your own. Yeah. You're a student of history, and especially like local history. I know you're really into that. And I am too. I'm curious what you've learned about the past here locally, like Appalachian history and the people that came here and built those houses in the 1800s. Like, what have you learned about our history as an Appalachian people from your work with these historical structures?
That's a great question, because when you think about architecture and real estate, you don't think about exactly like where we came from. But there's one thing that caught my attention recently. I work with an investor that bought a house on Highland, and he does great work. He's very high quality. He likes old houses, but he modernizes them, brings them into the 21st century. He uncovered there was a coved ceiling in this room that he was trying to restore. He uncovered it and realized it was basically like rabbit wire that they had wallpapered over. Okay, so many houses in Bristol with coved ceilings, they're either covered up or the house is gone. So that taught me something no one knew about Bristol, was that there was someone here who faked cove ceilings with a wire and wallpaper. And so stuff like that really speaks to me. I've always been into the working class too. I enjoy slave history. I enjoy learning about the people that actually built these buildings. And that dug into that guy. We may never know his name, but we knew a little more about him. And then in other areas, I've researched places like I have the old painter place from 1791 listed for King University right now. I learned through them that they came from, I believe they were Pennsylvania. They came from Pennsylvania, where a lot of people were coming this way from Pennsylvania in the late 1700s. My family came to Winston-Salem from Pennsylvania. And apparently, from what I can find, studying the history of that house, it was because real estate, it was becoming unaffordable to live there. So
in Pennsylvania.
So they were coming here to buy acreage and have, he could buy 600 acres for his house and a lot in Pennsylvania. So, yeah.
And that was in the 1700s.
Yeah, 1791.
Yeah.
So that's cool when you dig into it like that and you really learn. And learning just how many immigrants were here in Bristol in the 1800s. Like there were German people, there were Jewish people. I mean, there were people from all over the world coming to America, and they were right here in Bristol, and they did trades here too.
Did they land here because this was the edge of the frontier and this was the cheap land?
That's a good question. I really don't know exactly. I think it was part of that migration of the late 19th century, but Bristol was a big thriving city too.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't the home of the Rockefellers.
Yeah.
Right. And like the barons and the old money elites weren't living in Bristol. It was people that successful people were here.
Yeah.
But it wasn't old money. And one of the things that has always intrigued me about the old houses is the attention to detail, like what you were mentioning, and like the woodwork that these are working class people that were surviving, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they had their hands in the dirt. They were trying to survive, and they took the time to add these really detailed aesthetic features to these houses. And I wonder, like, what made them invest in those features? Because we don't do it today.
So Monica, when she got her master's in community organization and leadership from Emory and Henry, she tells me about, because I don't have a college education, so I'm like, Monica, what was this like?
Uh-huh.
So she told me during her MCall class that they talked about the influence of architecture on your well-being and how it had changed so much, and how people had sort of changed. And I don't know, maybe beauty was important to them, and maybe it was the fact that you just had to find beauty in something. I mean, your child could be here one day and gone the next. This was before vaccines and things like that. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But it is fun tracing those details. When you say detail, you automatically think of hand-carved things. And while there are beautiful, ornate things at Pleasant Hill where Bud Phillips lived, we were able to, it took 2 years to figure it out, but we were able to determine that what we call the best parlor was actually the dining room, and the dining room we use was actually the best parlor. And what told us that was the woodwork. It's a Greek revival. It's nothing ornate, but the woodwork in one room was just a flat board with a detail on the end. The detail in what's currently the dining room was that flat board, a bead, and then the same molding. That one detail told us that told company we paid more for this woodwork. So that had to be their parlor. That had to be where they brought company.
Okay.
So stuff like that's so cool.
Yeah.
When you talk about detail, sometimes it's not always ornate.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the rooms that you just mentioned, the parlor, and what was the
dining room?
The dining room. So the parlor was where you made your first impression on guests?
Yeah, and then they would call it the best parlor because they would have another room like a living room where the family would retire in the evening. But the best parlor is where company came. That's where the fine things were. That's the room you didn't get dirty.
Ah, yeah. Hospitality was important.
Definitely. You brought everyone in your house too.
Yeah.
So-and-so's here to pick up their check. Come in, have a cup of tea. That was pretty much the way it went.
Yeah. And now we run into, like, we get a house that has a parlor. Your first instinct is to open those walls up and make it make it an open floor plan. I don't see many new homes with a dedicated parlor, and I wonder what that says about, like, our culture.
I think dining rooms are disappearing too.
Yeah.
That sit down at a table and eat and talk to people, that's going away.
Yeah, people are eating in their living rooms, eating while they're multitasking. There's something to be said about space that's dedicated to one thing.
Yeah. You could relate it to the idea of sacred space. This dedicated to something. This is the way it should look. It has reason. There are reasons it should look this way, uses for it. And I like to try to relate preservation to sacred space and have those two overlap.
Yeah. I think we have more knowledge than people 200 years ago. I don't think we're any smarter.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think we're any happier, which is really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
they had so much less. They had so fewer creature comforts, but they seem from a distance to be happier than we are now. And I wonder what we can learn from them, from these old houses. They had some things figured out that
they lived in the present.
Yeah,
they had to live in the present. They had their daily tasks. They knew death was imminent. Today we can live to be 100. Right. Those things were on the forefront of their mind. I remember reading one time, memento mori is the idea of remembering death so that you can live well. And I think that had a lot to do with it. I think they were happier.
Yeah. And do you see anywhere in the way that they prioritize space that they valued community more? Like, can you tell from their houses, like, where they would,
that's a good question,
where they would connect with neighbors and other human beings? And I'm thinking, like, I go around Bristol, I see these old houses. They all have a great front porch.
That's a big one.
Yeah. And now new houses have a stoop.
Yeah.
It's clearly not where we gather.
Yeah, that's true. Seeing your neighbor, saying hello, and back to the idea of the best parlor. It's almost respectful not to show off, but to have someone in your house. I care about my house and what it looks like, and when I invite you over, that means I care about you.
Yeah, that hospitality, and we're taught, like, I think Appalachian history is especially interesting because you're not talking about rich people. Like, they had very finite resources, so you really learn about their priorities and what's important to them by where they spend those resources, right? And so the house is like a window, not only into their life, but probably into their values.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that completely. And we had wealth here, but it, like you said, it wasn't the same as the rest of the country. The man that built our house, he was considered wealthy, James King, but he was friends with Andrew Jackson, who had the Hermitage. Totally different kinds of wealth. Yeah. So you're right. There was a little more of a, almost like everybody had to work here.
Yeah.
We still do, don't we?
Yeah.
We're like, we are part of the world. I promise.
Yeah. And so the King house where you currently live was James King's.
Yeah, that was his house.
He lived the majority of his life, and James King is considered to be one of the founders of Bristol.
Pretty much. Yeah, he built that house his dad, I think, actually built it for him when he was 24 in 1814. His father bought Fort Shelby.
Yeah.
So they were just the second family here.
Yeah.
And
is that the Anderson family? Is that right?
Yes. Joseph Anderson was James King's son-in-law.
Okay.
So the King house, it's crazy to think our house right now sits behind Blackbird Bakery, and you go up on the hill and there's Victorian, and then our house like sits weird angled because it has a half acre now. Back then it had 2,000 acres. Oh. And so all of this was just a plantation. There was nothing here.
So all of downtown Bristol was that plantation.
Yeah, it was a sheep meadow downtown.
That house sat in the middle up on Solar Hill.
And back then, Beaver Creek wasn't under the road. So here's this massive, probably like 80-foot wide creek rushing in front of the house. Where the library was a spring. They called it Prophet's Hole because one of the enslaved people on the property bathed in it every morning, and he said he had visions from using it. And I try to think about downtown being a sheep meadow and how beautiful and peaceful that could have been. And it was also originally called Mountain View because from our front porch you can see, I believe it's Roan Mountain, but back then it was completely uninhibited. No power lines, no buildings. Must have been amazing.
Yeah, you could probably see Holston Mountain, Roan Mountain.
Yeah, I think Holston. Yes.
Yeah. Wow, I did not realize that. So that was the house.
It was the only one.
the only house.
And somehow it survived.
Wow. And it's how old?
1814.
1814.
It went abandoned during the Civil War. James King, once downtown was established, he moved downtown. I think they had better water. Apparently, you can dig 12 feet in Bristol and hit a well.
Uh-huh.
And so after that, it went empty. And he sold it to an investment group of gentlemen. And if I'm not mistaken, he rented it either during the Civil War or just after to a group of people who wanted to start a school, which later became Solon's Academy.
Okay.
So it started in our house way a long time ago.
Wow.
And we actually found a map from 1860. All it is lots. There are no houses there. And it even back then they said the old King house on it. And right beside it is a little square building. I thought, I found the kitchen, because we knew the slave house was next door. So I sent Tim Buchanan a message. I know you know Tim.
Yeah.
And I said, look at this, how cool, there's the kitchen. He said, that's not a kitchen, that's Solon's College.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh. So they built it in 1812.
1814.
1814. By 1816, Bristol was mapped out. So that property...
1850 was the town.
1850.
Yeah, Joseph came to him and
Platts.
said, he said there's a train coming through, and I think a junction point is an important place for a city.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that was 1856.
So between 1812 and the Civil War in the 1860s, Bristol was built.
Yeah.
So that sheep meadow transformed into a thriving railroad border city in 50 years.
Yeah.
It's like one generation.
Yeah. Really, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty and you look at photos and study it, it really happened in 12 years.
In 12 years.
There was nothing there in 1850, and by 1860, there was a town.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, like I think we probably flatter ourselves. I think the change that we have during our lifetime is pretty profound. And looking at Western civilization, I think, man, we probably lived through more dramatic change than any other generation. Like my mom was. Well, you said you went to an outhouse.
Yeah.
Like my mom went from having an outhouse and no indoor plumbing to 2025, one generation.
An iPhone.
Where you can Google Street View, walk through the old neighborhood on Google Street View. It's crazy. It's crazy the progress.
Really is.
But then put yourselves in the shoes of James King. In 12 years, you have an entire city where there was a sheep meadow.
Yeah.
Like, man, what a fascinating fascinating thing.
It really is.
Yeah. So tell me about that house. Like you buy it. Tell me about that whole
Yeah. So
you go home and say, "Hey, Monica, man, I got this idea."
That's pretty much what happened. Well, it's a nice serendipitous story. I try to not be 2 hours, but during COVID, couldn't see each other very much. I was busy selling houses
Yeah, COVID days, yeah.
And so there was a friend of ours, Barbara Jo. She lives in Chilhowie, and her husband's family's house since 1790. It's a cool place. And she said, I've got these books that Bud Phillips gave me, and they're signed. I thought you might
Bud
like
Phillips
them.
is a local historian. He's deceased now, but wrote
we wouldn't know
numerous
anything without
books.
him.
Yeah, numerous books on Bristol's history.
So we kept trying to meet, couldn't meet. So finally, I think it was August, and we were able to meet at the antique shop where I worked when I was a teenager. And she gave me the books. I went home that night, and I thought, I'm going to put my phone down and do some reading. The first chapter was about our house. And we lived a block away. I knew it was historic. I knew it had some kind of history, but I hadn't really researched it. We didn't talk about it much till we got it. So I went up there the next day, and I thought, well, there's no trespassing signs, but it's kind of some weeds and stuff. I guess it's okay. I walked around, and there was I've had feelings in my life where I'm like, I think this is meant to be, but this was big.
Yeah.
Like, this is mine.
You just knew right away.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't even have to say it. It was deep.
Uh-huh.
So I went back to the truck, and I had been turned down so many times before when I do this. I knew King University owned it. And I called, and this nice lady answered, who I think is now retired. And I said, can I speak to whoever's in acquisitions? And she said, yeah, hold on. I got through, left a message. I'm like, I'll pay you whatever you want. I just want this house. So 2 hours later, this gentleman calls back, and Tom, he called back and he said, I know you called about this. We can't sell it. And I said, oh, okay, I've heard that before. I'm sorry to bother you. And he said, well, there is something you need to know, though. Why are you calling right now? And I said, oh, well, a friend of mine gave me some books. I just walked around over here today and thought I would just call and check on it. And he said, we're taking applications for the property this week. He said, we can't sell it, but we can transfer it to a new owner. He said, I said, well, what do you need? And he's like, you need a 5-year plan. We need financial records. We need a blood sample. We want to make sure this goes to the right person because Margaret Mitchell had left it in her will. That's the way it had to be. I said, okay, how long do I have? And he said, 3 days. So I was like, turn all this stuff in. We didn't hear anything for like 4 months. And again, and the house was full of all the stuff from 1899 when the Mitchell family bought it. Their piano, their clothes, all their furniture, their heirlooms.
Like a museum.
Yeah, it was crazy.
She was a history buff too.
Oh, yes, she was.
Yeah.
And it was the Dusty Mansion, in town. So I get this phone call and the CFO calls and he said, I called them and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Obviously you all are taking some time on this and I've got big projects coming. So he called back and he said, I'm so sorry we haven't called you. I've got to tell you, we did find an owner, and I'm sorry I haven't called before now. It's been really busy during COVID. And I said, oh, I understand, sure. And I said, thank you. And he said, don't hang up. Why? And he said, because you're the new owner. So I called Monica, and I was like, I'd already called her, and I was like, we can get that house, and we have to spend a fortune fixing it, but it's relatively free.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's not real. It's not real. So I called her at work and I was like, you're not going to believe this. We're moving.
Wow. All right. So take me back to that moment. Like you're given the house.
To me, it's a gift. Yeah. To others, it should be a burden.
Yeah. Like there's a reason they gave it. There's a reason there was one guy on the list.
The president said, if somebody says you got the house for free, say, no, I promised to spend $500,000 fixing it.
Yeah. I remember we bought a property we were given a property one time, and Sam and I looked at each other and said, man, how can we lose if it's free? And then we found out.
Yes.
It is certainly possible. But all right, so take me back to that moment. So like when we go, we flip houses all over the country all the time. And we got a system. It's like the house, we fit the house into the system and you just go through the processes. This kind of house, you throw all those rules out the window, right?
Yeah.
How on, because we know what a window is going to cost. We know what it's going to cost to replace a vanity. We can replicate that. Like we can replicate our processes. And we get pretty close on a construction budget. How on earth do you begin to project costs on a historical house like that?
It's hard. I tell clients all the time, I'm like, get an estimate and then double it. I mean, you really seriously have to be safe about this because if you're doing a proper restoration, like with a house like this, we'd remodeled old houses, but we didn't give this much thought to it. You've got to let it talk to you. There were good things like the wallpaper had been up for 150 years. They just painted over it. So when we took it down under the original plaster, we saw ghost lines of original doorways. And so all that stuff was still there, just waiting to be found and could have been easily overlooked by someone who didn't understand what they were seeing. But yeah, our original budget has now been blown by about $150,000. We are on track. We had a 5-year plan and we've got 10 months left. And I think we can do it.
What was your original budget?
I think we thought we could be crazy enough to do it for 150.
And it ended up.
And now we're over 3 and we still got all kinds of stuff left.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're more experienced now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know more what you did.
But again, even at that, if we end up spending 5, which is probably where we will, it's still worth 5. We're not going in the hole.
Yeah. Yeah. But, because it's yours.
Yeah. But to pay 3 and then fix that, we would have had to really loved it.
Yeah. Tell me how you even like with your experience now, like how do you approach a budget? Because there's people that see these beautiful old houses. It's like, how do you start to budget? You have to sub out, like you have to find really skilled people to handle. Like
in my job, I've been able to find those people.
Yeah.
I've been able to find contractors that understand what they're doing, that know when you need permits and know what to do. That's a big deal. But with this one was so complex. Pleasant Hill Bud Phillips had done so much work. That was mainly cosmetic. We're like, oh yeah, we'll throw $25,000 at it and it's fine now.
He had done the restoration. Yeah. You just need to be able to live.
We need to put in a heat system.
Yeah.
King House there was a door. There was an old pantry that was just slapped together in the 40s. It was collapsing, nothing good. I wouldn't even consider it a structure. It was a ruin. And then there was a brick wall that the bricks were coming out of. It wasn't a problem. We didn't need a permit or anything to repair those, but in 2 years, it would have been really bad. And then there was a gutter above that was blocked and hanging off the house.
Uh-huh.
So what we had to do is we had to go, okay, what are these steps? This is just one thing. Okay, so we need to replace that door immediately because it's not winterproof. It's just some rickety old door that was placed in an original window. So we got to tear the ruins of that room off. Okay, number one. And then we've got to quickly fix the brickwork. Oh, and we had to replace the attic. There's a hatch that goes up onto the flat roof. Okay. So before we could fix that hatch that was leaking, we had to fix the brickwork down below and replace the gutter so you could so you didn't have to have a ladder to get up there. I'm sorry, we had to replace the hatch before the gutter. And then put the door in. So it was like, it wasn't so much about money. It was like 4 months.
Oh yeah.
Of trying to plan this situation out.
Yeah. Cause when we flip houses, like it's really important to get the plan at the beginning, right? Like we try to get to 100% of the plan before we put a man on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, to do that, then you have to be pretty good at knowing what the scope of the project is and then figuring all that out. And we got systems and processes for that. Like we replicate it. This, like, you don't know. Like you go into it thinking, I'm going to remove the wallpaper, but then you realize, well, there's a door behind the wallpaper or a window behind the wallpaper. And then you get in the window and you realize it's a door. So you're literally just, you said earlier, you have to listen to what the house is telling you. Is that what you're talking about? Like,
yeah,
you just open something up and then listen?
Yeah. And understand the architecture.
Yeah.
You got to know what was the original roof, where the addition was added on, because that tells you about stability. You got to figure out, like, there's a brick wall that's bowed. After many, many series of digging things up, we found that there was a clogged drain line from the gutters that had soaked the ground and caused it to sink. And we had to understand that before we could have somebody go under the house and jack up a beam, because we didn't know why the beam was sinking. And so understanding that architecture is a really big deal.
Yeah, because you could make a mess of it if you're trying to put a round peg in a square hole.
Well, and there's one outside wall that used to be an interior wall because they removed 2 rooms in 1890. If we didn't know that and we tried to just run some kind of beam across there and make a bigger door, the whole thing would collapse.
Right.
And so you just got to know your history about it first.
Yeah. And you just got to be willing to let the thing cook a while. Like,
that's it. I always tell people you need to live in your house for a year before you paint. Just watch the way the light comes in. Understand things a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have that luxury.
Yeah, that's right.
Speed.
But you got a good blank space.
Yeah,
You
and
do it well, and then they can come in and do
yeah,
whatever
but
they
they're
want.
simple. They're simple spaces.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's not usually not a lot of complexity going on there. But this is the opposite. This is the opposite of that. So for this, like you just have to. You don't just get into it and just make progress every day. You like literally have to open something up, listen to it, think about it.
You got it.
Super inefficient. Like on the construction side, like it scares me to death just thinking about this.
Even the HVAC guys, we had mini splits put in, and now they were great. It was Burnett Heating and Air, and they gave us an estimate, and they stuck right to it, which I will not tell you what it was.
Brave subs.
And they had to first crawl up under there and understand that we couldn't do duct work under the front of the house, and understand it that way. So it was like peel back a layer. And there were rooms we had to get done before the heat system was in because you didn't want to disturb plaster that was going to be sucked into the system.
Yeah. You really need to have you need to be capitalized when you take on a project like that.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not the standard. This is going to appraise for whatever, and I can get financed at 80%. Right. Like it's like that approach isn't going to work with a historical house. You need time, you need money, and you need a passion. You need a passion for what
and if you don't know how to do some of those cosmetic things yourself, you're going to learn fast.
Yeah. So how much of the work did you do yourself?
So Monica can do some minor wiring that we don't need to have permits for because the house had a lot of wiring updates.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, King University had done a lot of plumbing and wiring in there. So we've moved some lights around and things like that. Found a light fixture in the front that was causing a circuit to jump. So she can do stuff like that. She can do some minor plumbing. And then anything that's wood, I can replicate, create. My friend Carl Fraccarosi helps me. He's been doing it for years. He can remake molding. And then I do plaster and sometimes drywall in that house, depending on what might be needed.
Yeah.
I refinish the floors. As a matter of fact, we hand strip them. We've only sanded one. We get down with chemical stripper so we don't lose any of the character from them. And I enjoy painting. It's zen for me. Give me a paint roller and I'm good for 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I do that too.
Yeah, that's the other thing is you can't use blunt objects to deconstruct anything, right? Like you have to use scalpels when you go into these.
We don't believe in sledgehammers, not unless you're busting up a concrete pad,
Yeah. So having the skills to do that yourself has to be a huge, because it's got to be hard finding people you trust with a house like this.
It is.
Artisans are hard to come by.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a handful. They're good at what they do, but there's like one of each. Like you just can't find people here for that. If we lived in Charleston, South Carolina, well, it's do. But it's different. And it's again with that survival, well, if I'm going to make a living at this, why do I need to make rosewood molding? So it just doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to make a living on rosewood finishes in Bristol in 2020. Yep. In 2025. So these guys have learned how to do it, and then they do other things, and they probably really enjoy.
Some are retired. Some incorporated into their contracting work.
Yeah.
Like we've had a plumber do a few things that, he had worked on the tavern in Abingdon. So, we knew he was good. And then we have an artist friend, Natalie Tackett, who she can help us understand finishes on things. So she's got this wide, like she can fix a gilded frame or a painting, or she can come in and tell you what your paint is on your trim work and how to. So what she does is so broad, she can actually make a living doing something she loves. But a lot of people are either retired or they kind of, furniture makers in the 1800s made coffins on the side because they couldn't make enough money making furniture.
Sort of that job was coffins. Yeah.
People were dying to get those.
Yeah. But I mean, there's going to be less of those people.
Yeah.
Less of those people every year, right? Like it's so hard to find people that are really skilled artisans.
Oh, my friend Carl, I won't say his age, but I think he's approaching 80, 75.
Yeah.
Like, Carl, don't you go anywhere.
Yeah, he probably didn't. Yeah, he probably didn't pass that. He probably didn't pass that knowledge down to many people. Like we've lost that whole apprenticeship kind of culture. A few weeks ago, I had a podcast with Blake Collins, who's a jeweler.
Oh yeah,
Goodman,
Blake's great.
We talked a lot about the art, how much learning to be an artisan is not an efficient process. You have to really commit to it for years. You have to make mistakes. It's a commitment. It's not like something you just press a button and you learn how to do. It's a lot of patience. And how much harder that is for people to go through that process now than it was a generation or two ago.
That's true. But we do have technology to help us. And it's if you are passionate about something, you can do it maybe a little easier in a way, but you got to understand how to get to that point.
Yeah.
But those apprenticeships seems to be something that's disappearing.
Yeah. Well, you need reps. And something like this, like you just don't get many reps, not many places to practice on a daily basis.
Awesome thing is Ann Oakley.
Yeah.
Ann runs this program at Tennessee High where kids with a certain grade point average can sort of intern at places. And so we've had one 16-year-old already that I taught him how to do plaster repair and drywall. And
really?
Yeah, we had a great time. He used lead encapsulating paint. So that was cool. It was fun for me to go, I know this, and now you do.
Yeah, so that was probably Viking Academy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I've had them on too.
Good.
Not Ann, but Kelly. That's one of my very favorite episodes. But yeah, they're training kids like to do things with their hands, and it's a fantastic program.
It is. I was floored because when I was a teenager, that would have put me ahead 10 years.
Yeah, but where did kids get an opportunity to do that? Like, there's plenty of kids that are good with their hands and like love that.
Yeah.
Right. But the opportunities are so limited, and so they're doing a great job of connecting kids. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they're also good about. I have a wife with a master's. I have nothing wrong with a problem with a college education. I didn't get one, but I can also defend that.
Yeah.
And she can too.
Yeah.
You know, she's all about that idea. I think that program is helping. We're really chasing a rabbit, but that program helps those children understand that college education push maybe needs to be pulled back a little bit.
Yeah.
Or a plumber's going to be $300 an hour.
Yeah.
Because there's 5 of them. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think people are realizing that. I think we're seeing a transition. I know a lot of people are working on it.
Oh, I had a friend tell me the other day that imagine what you could have done if you'd gone to college. You could have been somebody. That's what he said to me. And I was like, oh, I thought I was doing okay.
Yeah. There's those old biases, but man, like artists are so valuable to a culture. When you look at these old houses, like what's one of the most impressive artisanry that you saw in the King Project?
That goes into something a little uncomfortable that I enjoy talking about, and that's slave history.
Yeah, let's do it.
The reason these buildings, Southern buildings, are important is because if you go into a slave cemetery, you see rocks propped up with no names on them. If you Google photos of enslaved people, there are not as many as the people that owned them. These buildings are basically all that's left of some of them that they may not even have names. And they mastered their skills. That was all they could do, whether it was forced or not. It was important to them. And so at the King House, finding woodwork that I know was made by, I know their names. There's one named Nehemiah Strange. There's another one named Sai Goodson. I know who they were. There were 38 of them. And the brickwork, Sai was a brick mason. And so those things are the most beautiful to me. It's not all about ornate gilded things. It's about what was someone proud of making, that may be their only contribution that we can see. Wow. So that's a big deal to me.
Was in the work that they left behind.
Yeah.
and the skill that they did it, and it's still intact.
That's the people that built the country.
It's the people still building the country.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but it's standing 225 years later. I don't know that anything we build today is going to be standing in 200 years.
I saw that there's this video of some big McMansions in Florida, and it's raining, and the house goes boom and falls, and then the next story falls, and because it was just the frame, and I'm like, that doesn't discredit a lot of modern contractors, but even our code, they'll make you raise a railing that's too short, but the joists are 3 by 10. It's like that stuff's changed.
Some of these new houses they're building now, it's the materials that are used for them. Yeah. So take me back to what you learned about the slaves at the King House.
Well, thanks to Bud Phillips, we got a lot of info. He read a book called The King on Beaver, because that was Beaver Creek, and he was James
I haven't
King.
read that one. Okay.
Well, it's because it doesn't exist anymore. So you know how Bud was? He would sniff out information and try to memorize it. So he apparently could not. I think he took some notes out of this book, but he read it and then came back and rewrote what he could. So a lot of the information that he had from that book matched up with our architectural review from the DHR and stuff like that. But he had this extensive slave history. Some of it I'm not able to document through the records. I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, Sai Goodson was the most interesting person. So we get into a little woo-woo with him.
Yeah.
He was, I hate saying this, but this is the way it's written. He was a wedding gift to James King's wife when they were married. He was supposedly in his 40s then. The man died in 1862. The rumor was that he was 130 years old. So he also, they called him a prophet. He foretold the death of every King family member, just the way it would happen. He was allowed to carry a gun, which was illegal. I mean, there can be some debate on what it means. He was enslaved, yes. But James King loved him was the idea from this book. He was actually, a lot of people don't know this in Bristol, but a slave helped be the chain bearer for the downtown block system, which was a high honor, apparently. So he was down there with these guys that were building the town. He told James King he saw a great city in the sheep meadow about 10 years before it happened. And he said it looked like 100,000 candles. So this guy was amazing. He died of a heart attack at 130. I'm doing a lot of quotes. Trying to get some enslaved girls away from some bushwhackers. And died trying to save these girls. Fascinating guy. Then I don't know a whole lot about the women.
And he was the brick. He was the brick mason.
That's what my understanding is.
Yeah.
Because they would have made the bricks on site also.
So the bricks in the King House are probably he's probably the main artisan that did that brickwork. And so they made those bricks on site, obviously surrounded by 1,000 acres. You got to do everything in house.
Yep. Yeah, and they would set up kiln. And so they had the Beaver Creek Ironworks. They owned that, which is now Still Creek Park.
Okay.
So they may have taken them there to fire, or they may have brought something up to the hill to fire them. Now, my friend Benjamin Jackson, he traces enslaved fingerprints on bricks. He says that, it's important to his family heritage as a black man to trace this back and find them. He's a fascinating person. He found a giant thumbprint on one of our bricks, because we have a very small section of original brickwork showing because the house was added on to so much. But I'm like, that, it's a great chance that was Sai's thumbprint.
So when you say traces the fingerprints, you're not talking about like the style, you're talking about the literal.
Yes, they had to carry the cooling bricks by hand. And so his idea is that they would purposefully make marks as their sort of signature. Yeah. We found them at the painter place. I'm actually going with Benjamin to Gretna, Virginia this weekend, and we're going to see Sharswood. Oh, You ever heard of that place?
No.
I saw them on 60 Minutes, and I called them, and they're like, yeah, we'll meet with you. And I was like, this black family bought this plantation house in Gretna, Virginia, and they got really into the history of it when they were restoring it. And upon their research, they found out their family were the enslaved workers on the property. You talk about some, like, real justice there. I mean, they own it. They're friends with the family. They run it like it's their house, but they have sort of living history events, and they're getting ready for their Juneteenth celebration Sunday. So I'm meeting with them Saturday.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so Benjamin's going to go look at their bricks, and I'm like, this is what I like. I'm not making a penny, but I love it.
Yeah. How cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So Sai Goodson was the brick mason.
Yes.
And then there was another
Nehemiah Strange.
Okay.
He was apparently like a guard for one of James King's sons, and they were supposedly best friends. Their names escape me. Like I said, there were 38. I don't know a lot about the women. I know there was a 5-year-old enslaved girl that drowned in the pond, the spring that's where the library sits now. I called the... oh my gosh, why is her name escaping me? Rita, that works there. And I was like, is the library haunted? And then there was one, I can't remember his name, but they had transferred him to Strawberry Plains, I think. And he wanted to be with the King family so much, he walked back and somehow, I guess, wasn't picked up for being a runaway slave. And he was so, exhausted when he got there from this walking travel that he actually died in the next week.
So for reference, Strawberry Plains is about a 2-hour drive on the interstate.
So this would have been like 2 days of walking at least. I mean, probably more than that.
Yeah.
So,
And he was a he did the woodwork?
I don't know much about him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just know that's one of the stories.
Yeah. What have you learned about we talked some about the what we could learn about the values of the plantation house with the parlor and the emphasis on hospitality and the resources they put into that. Have you learned anything about the culture of the people that lived in the slave houses? They probably didn't have control over how those resources were spent, though, did they?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Not really. Religion was big to them, of course. And it seemed like family was important, which was really sad because a lot of them would get split up in larger plantations.
Yeah, man, I just got back on spring break this year. We took a road trip with our daughters through the Deep South. And we went from New Orleans, Mississippi, and Montgomery. Man, that was heavy.
Yeah.
That was heavy. And you just kind of trace the journey that people made and the way they were, how much they treasured, how communal they were, how family centric they were, and then how easily they were detached from family. Man, what a great trip. I would recommend that to anybody.
That sounds awesome.
And it started, one of the places was the Whitley Plantation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, they do great
You've been
work.
there?
I have not been there, but I keep up with what they do.
Yeah, that's a great trip.
Yeah.
And sobering. All of it is just so heavy. But Whitley Plantation, we went, and they've restored a plantation just outside New Orleans. And there were restored slave cabins there. We went through the tour, African-American guide. I could tell she had a real personal investment.
Oh, that's
in
great.
The story,
yeah.
And she lived there, and she was more than just a tour guide, right? She had this investment in that property. And so afterwards I went up to her and said, man, I could tell a lot of this stuff is personal to you. And she said, I couldn't say this during the tour because everything that I say has to be documented history for me to present it. But she says, my grandfather lived in that slave cabin.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It just tells you how we're not far removed.
No.
Like, we're not far removed at all. Like I said, I taught Western Civ. We taught take 1,000 years in one class. Like, we're not far removed from Sai Goodson.
No, not at all. Just 4 generations, you know?
Yeah.
Now, slave cabins are, well, that's fascinating in preservation. I think we only have 1,500 documented standing slave cabins in the state of Virginia. So saving those sites and showing how these people lived is huge.
Yeah.
We were...
If you had that opportunity?
No, I wish. Oh, my gosh.
So those probably just didn't make, like, they got deconstructed it somewhere along the way, typically.
Yeah, as Solar Hill built up, they sat down probably a little more closer to Commonwealth, so they were just gone. The last one was the original slave cabin became the kitchen later, and it sat right in the front yard, and it was torn down in 1891.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's some quarters on Alabama Street.
Oh wow!
But they're still attached. They're still attached to the property because I've been in. I know Alabama Street pretty well, and so I've been in a lot of those houses, and I'm pretty sure.
That's pretty
sure they were servant quarters.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's one, I know of one in Abingdon, a house I sold on, can never say the name of that word, Stone Mill Road. There was a enslaved slave dwelling on behind it. Several in Glade Spring. One behind a house on 11 had survived the tornado. Oh, it was an incredible building. It fell in.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite a few of those in Glade around. People just don't know what they are.
Ah. Wow.
Yeah. Put a roof on that outbuilding, you know. Thank God they did.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. How it's so interesting seeing real estate and history and Bristol all come together, and you're right there in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Did you run into anything on the King House, that project? That's a massive project. You said going on 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, March will be 5 years.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've discovered that you just couldn't, like, you wanted to do, but you just, like, financially just couldn't? Did you say no to anything?
You know, I cared so much about what the house was. Yeah, I think we pretty much, even if it meant not doing anything else for 4 or 5 months, we tried to do it right.
Yeah.
And the way it should be. Our goal with that house, you know, we had the wood floors taken out and concrete and stone put in the porch because our idea was, if we die tomorrow, will this house have another good 50 years left before there's any maintenance needed? So that's when you get into something, we just dig into it. And when the contractor says it's this much, you go, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but you wanted to make it resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
Now, there were some things I would have liked to have done. I hate our staircase. Like Pleasant Hill has a beautiful staircase. Our old house on Johnson had this grand oak staircase. Ours was never in the front hall. It was in the back. We do have an original one upstairs, but this is the main one, and it's attractive, but I think that house could have done more. But, you know, it's there. I'm not going to change it.
So what do you do on things like windows? Like, do you just restore what's there? Do you replace it with historical windows? Like, what's appropriate?
If it needs to be done, we can replace it. There is a company. My friend Scotty would kill me because I can't remember the name of the company, but there's a local one that does historic windows.
And will they they'll build? They literally build them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in this project, they were okay, pretty much. So we reglazed some, replaced any cracked or broken glass, and painted them. So half of them don't work. And what we've said is we want this house to be perfect and livable. And then in 5 years, we're going to come back one by one, take them out, strip the paint off, make sure the cords work, put them all back in, and then we'll actually probably make our storm windows this year, but we're just making simple plexiglass inserts for the interior. So when you're outside, it looks original.
Yeah.
But when you're inside, there's an interior storm window.
Gotcha.
That's what we do. Pleasant Hill doesn't have storm windows. That house is tight. So each one's
When you say
different.
tight, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it's 1,800 square feet, built in 1872. It's got like 11-foot ceilings downstairs, and I mean the heat bills are fine. It's
Isn't that amazing?
yeah,
Like it's a testament to the craftsmanship that went into these places. You don't. I mean, they didn't have insulation materials, right? So they insulate it with the material, like the raw materials in the construction.
we did find something really cool at the King House where that door was that used to be a window that we took out. We had to take the facing off. We found one original cast iron.
So you take the wallpaper off. You find a window first.
This was the door into the pantry.
Okay.
But we had figured out that it was an original window. They just put a door in.
Okay.
So when we took the outside facing off, we found an original iron shutter bracket that was made by the King family. And then behind the facing, we found this stuff that looked like black rope. Okay, this is new to me. So I posted it on social media, and some followers were like, oh, that's an insulation. So they would take tar, maybe that's what it was, some kind of oil or something, and they would twist horsehair into this long black rope, and they would stuff it in the cracks before they put the facing on the windows.
No.
So they did little stuff like that. And I think a lot of reasons old houses aren't efficient is when you don't maintain them properly.
Yeah.
You know, if you let windows and doors get loose and jiggly, or you let cracks appear and you don't keep caulking them, that stuff adds up.
Yeah.
So you can blame it on being old, but maybe it just needs a little help.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of deferred maintenance over the past 200 years. Man, that's the ingenuity that they used. Like, it's so impressive.
It really is.
So, but the craftsmanship, like they really, really were good at what they did.
Yeah.
Like that brickwork to be standing, and it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and it's a Flemish bond is what they call it. So you would have, let's see, I think it's one brick is long and the other brick goes in another course, and then another brick long and in, and you stagger those. And so it creates this heavy structure because our walls are 4 bricks thick. So they're solid brick.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing they had to think about is if we lay it in layers, is the layer going to come off?
Yeah. We've got a house in Bristol on Shelby Street that bought a few years ago, and we've held it. But it was built by the owner of the foundry in Bristol way back. It's over 100 years old. But he used brick for the interior walls as well.
Oh, yeah.
So the whole thing is brick like that, which like you gotta be. There's not a lot of flexibility with changing rooms and layouts.
No.
So you get what's there.
I do know the trick on hanging pictures, though.
Well, tell me.
Masonry nails.
You
You just pick where you're going to go and hammer that thing in, and your picture's never going to fall either. I had to hang sheetrock in our laundry room with masonry nails.
Yeah.
So I would place it up there and bang, 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 because that's all I could. The plaster was toast, and it was just a 1902 room. It wasn't anything great.
Yeah. Man, how interesting stuff. Well, so you've done a few of your own projects, your own restorations. You specialize in listing and selling old houses throughout the region. That business seems to be really thriving.
Yeah, it's good. You know, I think we're going into a market with real estate. I've read that there's going to be about 30 to 50% of agents may not even exist at the end of the year because of changes, NAR lawsuit and stuff like that. Yeah. And so I was listening to this podcast the other day, and this agent was saying, if you don't find a niche, you may not exist.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what I said earlier. You need to be good at something.
Yeah.
You need to be really good at something.
Laser focus.
And I wonder, I think AI is going to really have AI as a whole is gonna have an effect on generalists. Yeah. Who aren't really good at something.
I agree.
You know, but if you're really good at something, I don't fear AI.
No. As a matter of fact, those agents that are strong now and have been, once the competition, if you will, is out, it's just going to be bigger for them. Yeah. But I'm just as passionate about that, hooking people, preservationists up with the house they want and seeing how important it is to them. I did a reel on Facebook. It's a listing of mine in Burgoynesville. It's been in the same family for 200 years. Needs a lot of work, and it's a lot of money. And people were talking about how, oh yeah, you put good music to it and everything, and that's covering up the. And I was like, no, the people I'm talking to are passionate about this.
Yeah,
that's their language.
yeah. So do you vet your buyers?
I can't do that as an agent.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes sellers, I've handled this more than once actually, and it works.
Yeah.
They will require letters of intent or something like that going forward because they care about what happens. So they don't want you to do XXX.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it'd break your soul if you sold one of these historic houses to somebody that didn't have the resources to do it.
That's done. It's done well. Yeah. Now with the King University one I have listed, it actually has property restrictions that were put in place by the person that left it to them. The old painter house. Yeah. So we're having to contend with that. But.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're doing work on the agent side with old houses. You're doing your own restoration work, and now you're building your content.
Yeah, it's been crazy,
pretty crazy out there. Right?
Yeah,
like, I mean, a lot of people, it's resonating with a lot of people.
It really is. I can't believe, I was like, oh my gosh. One day I was like, I have 10,000 followers on Facebook. Cool. And then I was like, I have 20 and now it's like 50. And then the other platforms are growing and it's neat.
I'm assuming you didn't sit down a couple of years ago and think I'm going to build a business out of content.
No,
you just...
I did not consider myself a content creator. Yeah. But people like it.
Yeah. You enjoy it?
Yeah. It is. You got to streamline it or you'll just be on your phone all the time. Like at 7 p.m., there's a post that's coming out that I've already done while Rory was at Solon's today.
So you put boundaries around like the time that you put into it?
Yeah. And you have to talk to people. You have to communicate with people. So I set aside certain times when I stop and I reply to comments and it's important to communicate like that. I'm not just putting it out there and going, oh, look what I do. I'm talking to people.
Interacting with people. And you feel like that's the key to the growth.
Yeah.
And the content too.
Yeah.
You know, I started this with like, it's cool to see people what they're doing is consistent with who they are. You know, it's like authentic. And that's you. And
thank you.
I think that captures people's imagination. And
I can't help but be anything but me. You know, it's just who I am, and I'm unhappy with anything that I don't resonate with.
Yeah, but it takes work to do that thing. You know, like you can't just I'm gonna go do something I enjoy doing and do it tomorrow. Like you have to grind to get good at it, right?
Yeah.
If it was easy, everybody would be doing what they love.
Yeah.
So when I look at people and I see, man, that guy's doing what he loves. Like I know they've worked.
You right? know that. Some people are like, oh, that happened overnight.
No, it didn't happen overnight, man. You got to get your hands in the dirt. You got to understand the nuances of the stuff, and to be good at it. You gotta be good at something. Be really good at something if you're doing what you love.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. What are you most excited about?
I'm excited about continuing to build local business.
Yeah.
You know, I've got people from all over the country calling me going, can you help me find an agent where I am? You know, where people in Bristol, I still am not getting as many people in my own town. I'm like I had one person hire me to sell a house and I did. She said, I knew you'd do well. You came highly recommended. And I said, okay, now where are you moving? And she said, oh no, I have a buyer's agent. She said, I hired you because you sell old houses. So that's sort of the thing. You may want to hire your niece or nephew or something like that, but are they going to do that? And so I'm still combating, you know, why am I not getting more calls from Bristol? But that's what I'm excited about is my local recognition has changed a lot in the past year.
Yeah.
Happy to know that.
You're really committed. Like, you love Bristol. You're on the planning.
I chair planning
You
commission.
chair the planning commission, which is not an easy. That's
Not
an
lately. There's
easy
like a
job.
hearing every other Tuesday night now. Yeah, and I chair the Historic Preservation Awards on the Virginia side. We've now teamed up with
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I'm on the Board of Zoning Appeals, which we meet every 15 years when there's a blue moon or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, man, it's really cool what you do.
Thank you.
I know literally tens of thousands of people are watching these walkthroughs. And
Well, I
your
respect what you do
content.
highly. So for you to say that, I'm like, thank you.
It's different, man. Like, it's different. Nothing's easy, right? Like, we started get really good at a niche and be the best in the world at that one
That's
thing.
right.
But dude, none of it's easy.
No.
Like, you pick your niche, and if people tell you it's easy to get the best at that thing, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
Or they haven't done it before.
Yeah. Commit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
what I think about waking up. It's what I think about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not above my family or something like that, but
Yeah.
it's like you have to live and breathe it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's rewarding though, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. When you get really good at something and
Oh, I've been called an expert, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I never used that word before, but I guess, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a pride that no one like being an artisan, being good at something is something that no one can take from you. And I think about that image of Sai Goodson. They'd taken his freedom from him, probably taken his family from him, but like they couldn't take his craftsmanship from him. And like he intentionally put his thumbprint on those bricks, and they're still standing 200 years later. It's pretty powerful.
It's very
pretty powerful image. So, well, thanks for putting your imprint on Bristol. It's good work. It's important work. If you didn't restore these houses, I don't know that anybody would have. And so, thanks for that labor of love, and look forward to seeing everything else that you've got in store.
Thank you. Thank you too for what you do.
Thanks.